Hi there. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about Scrollspy, Bootstrap component that basically tells you in the navigation where you are on the page. So if you scroll down at the top right, it says section 1. Section 1 is highlighted, and then section 2 will highlight, and section 3 will highlight. So I'll walk you through the code right now. So in the header, well, you want to first actually um, link the Bootstrap CDN as well as the JavaScript with jQuery first, Popper, and then Bootstrap in that order, and then your custom JavaScript after that. So when you are building out your Scrollspy, you want to usually target the body. You can target other elements as well, but you mainly target the body. So Scrollspy, you can only use Scrollspy on a navigation element or a Bootstrap nav list. Um, so when you create your navigation, your Bootstrap navigation, you want to make sure that your links, the href for your link, is targeted the ID of the element that you want to highlight at that level in the on the web page. So right here, the first link, section 1, the href is the ID of the section 1 in the body, so that it will highlight when you scroll down to section 1. And the same thing for section 2 is targeted the same ID as section 2 and section 3. And as well as since section 3 is a drop-down, you the links inside the drop-down, part 1, part 2, and part 3 of the drop-down also need to be targeted with the same ID. So part 2 or part 1, part 2, and part 3. In order to target in order for the browser to actually know that where you are scrolling on the page, in the body element, you need to add data-spy, data-spy, and scroll. But with only that won't work. You also need to add data-target navigation, or the ID of the nav bar, so it can tell which are the corresponding links to the to the element in the page, to the targeted body element, the targeted section on the page. So as an example of how this works, the links in the header are targeted to the same element in the body. So if you click section 1, it'll scroll down to section 1. If you click section 2, it'll scroll down to section 2. If you click section 3, it'll open up the drop down for part 1 of section 3, for part 2 of section 3, and for part 3 of section 3. So, and also you can tell as you scroll down slowly, section 1, once you scroll down to section 1 will highlight, and then you scroll down, section 2 will highlight in the top here, and then section 3 will highlight. And also, if you scroll down, if you open the drop down menu and you keep scrolling, see part 1 is highlighted right now. Then once you get to part 2 will highlight, and once you get to part 3 will highlight. So you can see how exactly where you are on the page, so you can never get lost. Sometimes with deep navigation systems and complex web layouts, you may get lost to where you are on a web page. So this is very helpful and practical to let you see what's actually going on and where you are and how to get back to where you were before. So there are a few rules when it comes to using Scrollspy with Bootstrap. First off, it requires JavaScript from the source, util.js, which is included in the JavaScript CDN here. It's included in here, but if you're not using this, the Bootstrap JavaScript, you need to include util.js. It has to be used on a navigation element like this, or a list group, a Bootstrap list group. It also requires position relative, so you can't use static or absolute or any of the other positions. You need to use position relative on the body, sorry, and if you're using it on an element that's not, or if using Scrollspy on an element that's not the body, you have to set height. You have to set a height to that element and overflow y scroll, so that excuse me, so that you can actually scroll through the content. And as I explained before, you need to have anchors targeting the corresponding element with the same ID. So when all these requirements are filled, your Bootstrap Scrollspy will work properly, and the active class will swap from each different element, or depending on where you are on the web page. There's a few JavaScript components as well. If you want to just straight add Scrollspy using JavaScript, you target which element you want, and then you'd say dot scrollspy, and then target, and then there's the ID of the navigation element or the list group of the filled with the anchors of the elements that you want to target. If you want to, if you're adding and removing elements using the DOM with JavaScript, you would need to add this function here, data-spy-scroll, or equals data-spy equals scroll, and then for every function, and then the scroll spy, you want to refresh the scroll spy so that it can continue to get an up-to-date version of the web page, so that if an element is added, then the scroll spy will refresh to account for that added element, or if it's removed. And if you want to remove scroll spy from the page, you just type in dispose, and then the scroll spy will be removed, as you can see here. How the elements or the navigation is not updating depending on where you are on the page. So as a summary of what we just learned today about Bootstrap Scrollspy, you want to make sure that on the body element, that data spy is set to scroll, and data target is set to navigation to the ID of the navigation element here. And the navigation element has to have anchor tags, pointing to the ID of the section of the same ID of the section with the same ID in the main, or in the body of, or whatever element you were trying to target. And that's pretty much it.